Hello everyone, it's Arleta here from the Health Geek Mom. Today I'm going to share with you how to plant perennial tulips and daffodils in tyres, in old tyres, not new ones. That would be very expensive. This is going to be very fuss-free, no painting, no decorating type of tire planting, just getting it done. I really truly admire people who have beautifully decorated tires in their garden, and I wish I had time to do this. Some point I may, but right now I have two small kids, it's past mid-January, and I just have to have it done. Yes, you can plant spring bulbs in late January. I think you could even push it to February, frankly. What's going to happen is that they are probably going to come out a bit later. As you can see, what I'm doing right now is actually clearing my old tires. I have had a tire planted with daffodils, with some alliums. There were some wild tulips there and also primroses. I'm going to move some of the primroses to different part of the garden, and some of them will go back on the top of the tires. Here I have some as well allium bulbs. You can see they're already starting sprouting. The same happened to some of the daffodils which were growing already in the tires. That's what I'm saying, that if you're going to plant the daffodils or tulips right now in January, even February, you're going to have them, a bit delayed, because some of the other ones in the ground already are growing. These were really full of grasses, because our front garden, we leave it very wildlife friendly. There's lots of plants there, and I do cultivate it a bit, but generally it's left to be very wild, because the tires are now become too small. That one layer of tire in that grassland jungle, we decided to add another one just to kind of have a bit of a pop-up of color in the spring before everything else starting to really grow and flower in there. If you're starting from scratch, you can obviously just start at this point where I'm doing, put the tires in the right place where you want them, and fill up with the soil. You want at least the first tire to be full of soil. The soil will compact eventually over time, so you want it filled up pretty well. I am planting 3 different varieties here. Is a Darwin hybrid mixed, Akebono and Amberglow. Those are perennial tulips for UK. I will link in the description below a book I read by Sarah Ravens. She writes more about tulips and which of them will naturalize and be perennial in UK, which I found very helpful. And I have seen it actually in some of my own tulips. I have some variety which I cannot track down. It's probably Darwin hybrid, which keeps coming back on my lawn. Okay, back to planting. So once the soil is filled up, we put all our tulip bulbs, and we also put some of the digged out bulbs which were already half growing from the tires below, just to put them in the nice layer of the soil so they can keep growing. Then we fill it up with a small layer of soil, no more than about 5 centimeters. It all fills out between the bulbs, and obviously we are being quite careful to make sure that the half growing ones as well don't get damaged. And then we put our daffodils. Generally speaking, tulips and daffodils should be planted about 10 to 15 centimeters depth and 8 centimeters apart. Well, I never give them that much space, because they will just look very poor when you have one bulb coming up. They will naturalize and there will be more bulbs with time, but at this point I just want to have a really nice display, so we're just putting lots of bulbs next to each other, and they will just need to figure out how to live with it. Also, I would say that you need to make sure that when you're putting the soil on, you tack it into the rims of the tire, because the soil will eventually with time settle and wash in there. You're going to end up with quite low level of soil, so it's good to tuck it underneath the edge when you planting. Like I have done that with the tulips. I try to make sure that you put it in the edges, and then I do the same thing with the daffodils. And I have also planted some of the daffodils in the outer edge of the tire, while the tulips are only in the core of the tire. So you see, again, you tuck in all the soil as much as you can, put it in the sides and the sides and the sides. And then I have put some of those primroses I digged out on the top. I have more of them growing in the jungle cottage garden, so I decided to take a lot of them out because they are just not being seen. There's too much grasses, so they will do better in the tyre, and I'm moving rest of them to our forest area. They are flowering for quite a long period, and they are green in the winter, so that's nice to have around as well. You know, you could put many other things there. If I would have put crocuses or bulbs on the top. I can always add them next year. They don't need to be planted that deeply. And even though I'm really quite trying to compact the soil and put as much as I can in the rims, I know it will settle and it will be much less in the next year. So that's probably will be perfect time to add some crocuses and put more soil on the top. Now all you do is just repeat. I have 4 sets of those double tyres planters, so I'm just repeating the same process: the soil, the half grown bulbs, the tulips, then a bit more soil, daffodils, soil again, and primroses or whatever else you're choosing to plant on the very top. A fun fact I have recently learned is that apparently tulip petals are edible. I knew about roses, but I didn't realize that tulip petals are edible as well, so that'll be interesting to try. And guys, I as well plant these generally with the moon gardening in mind, if I can. Those are bulbs, especially perennial stuff, anything with roots or transplanting, or root vegetables. If you're seeding them, for example, is really good to do before new moon, after full moon. And there is actually science to this. It's not only who, generally speaking, the sap of the plants is really down in the roots when we're going towards the new moon. It's the same thing when we have tides, high tide, low tide. Low tide, the moon is pulling the water in one direction. The same thing happens with plants, and that's why it's better to plant the root stuff, the perennial stuff, before the new moon. It's other way around for the leafy stuff and salads and flowers. There is actually a lot to it you can find online, but I do find that it actually works quite well. I found that delaying planting or transplanting certain plants to the right moon cycle actually does not slow them down. It can speed them up if they're done in the right time. And I do find that transplanting especially makes better transplanting and stronger plants, because that sap and all that energy is down in the roots, so when you move the plant with it, it just kind of copes better. That's the planting done. Hope you have enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments below if you plant anything in the tyre. And of course, make sure that you subscribe, like the video if you liked it, comment below. All this helps my small channel grow. Until the next time.